Updating legacy IT systems at agencies could soon get easier. The latest coronavirus relief bill will give a $1 billion boost to the Technology Modernization Fund. Matthew Cornelius is Executive Director of the Alliance for Digital Innovation. He's former Senior Advisor for Technology and Cybersecurity Policy to the Federal Chief Information Officer. Thanks for joining me. What updates do you have on TMF in the coronavirus relief bill?
Yeah, it's a really big day seeing the $1 billion for the TMF. This is something that I worked very hard on, and folks like Suzette Kent, Tony Scott worked very hard on when they were at OMB. And so it's a really excellent day, and there's a lot of opportunity ahead. I think the real challenge and opportunity for OMB and GSA, now that they're going to have this infusion of capital, is to ensure that they have a robust selection of projects. And I think they're going to have to change the operating model of the TMF. Probably going to have to loosen up or suspend those repayment strings. I mean, Congress did give them this money under a COVID relief bill. And if they sit on that money and don't have good projects coming in, it's really going to be all for naught. So I think we would like to see OMB and GSA sort of reform the program management office, suspend or update those repayment requirements, and really start making capital investments very quickly with this $1 billion. It's got to get out there fast. There's lots of issues that have come to the forefront over the past year of dealing with the pandemic. And we know that there are immediate needs in the federal IT and cybersecurity space. So I'd like to see them move smartly, but also quickly with this money.
I certainly assume there's no shortage of projects that you think would be a good fit. Do they need to sort of open the aperture a bit to make sure they get those?
I think so. So there's a couple of things. One is OMB and GSA should have already been, over the past year, scanning across the federal enterprise and looking at sort of common challenges or common opportunities that they've seen in agencies. And I think some of those are starting to come to the forefront. There's obviously issues with identity management made even more pressing by the SolarWinds issue. I think there's issues around collaboration tools and data sharing, improving and reforming sort of the centers of excellence and federal sort of websites and digital services. So there's going to be opportunity there, but I think it's going to be incumbent upon OMB and GSA to sort of stipulate where they want that money to go, rather than sit around and wait for potential agency projects to come in.
Sure. I was going to ask you what kinds of projects you think the agencies should prioritize. It sounds like you think maybe some projects that address common issues. Is that right?
Yeah, 100%. We really need to move away from the model of OMB and GSA sort of waiting for agencies to make project requests, and instead flip it to where they look across the government and figure out what are the best sort of common areas to invest in. So this money, with its flexibility, and if they get rid of these sort of onerous and restrictive repayment requirements, can really accelerate shared services, accelerate common services. You've got to fund these multi-agency projects. Like, that's what this money's for. A lot of federal agencies over the past year have actually done pretty well in the federal IT space. Like, a lot of these pandemic relief bills, including the current one that's going to be signed by the president shortly, provide a lot of money for IT and cybersecurity upgrades at individual agencies. But there's still common challenges that we see across government. Like I said, around identity, collaboration tools, data and analytics. These are places where you can make multi-agency or government-wide investments that are going to benefit everyone and bring that bar up.
It sounds like you see this as kind of a real opportunity to maybe leapfrog a bit.
Yeah, 100%. And it's not just the TMF money that's really going to help them get there. That is critical, and that $1 billion is incredibly important. But I actually think that the most sort of impactful investment that we're going to see on the federal IT space from this bill is the $200 million that's going to the U.S. digital service. So for context sake and for historical sake, if you do the back of the napkin math, that's about twice what USDS has been appropriated at for their entire history. So they're getting a massive plus up in this bill, and it's a real signal from the Biden administration and from Congress that we need more good technical talent in agencies dealing with these problems, working with industry, and really focusing on citizen solutions and solving problems through digital services that can benefit the American people. So that's another critical element of this package that really needs to be elevated and talked about more.
I think that's an important point. Seeing this as a signal from the administration, from Congress, what will you be watching going forward in terms of other opportunities for them to make a difference there?
Yeah, we've got a couple of big muscle movements that are coming over the course of this year that I think are going to be incredibly important, and hopefully the Biden administration will keep their foot on the pedal here. One is going to be their budget, and obviously it's a bit unique because it's the first year of an administration. They're having to undo the budget planning of the previous administration and try to get numbers out. But critically, we're not under the budget caps anymore. We're not under sequestration. And I would assume that the Biden administration is not going to force agencies to take these sort of arbitrary 5% haircuts that the previous president's OMB did. So there's a real opportunity in that budget to put some big numbers behind multi-year appropriations for modernization, really give agencies the transfer authorities they need to stand up those working capital funds that were called for in the Modernizing Government Technology Act. And so that's going to be incredibly important. And then later this year, the White House has already started signaling that they're going to do a massive infrastructure and jobs package. And we would certainly hope that digital infrastructure, both in the public sector and in the private sector, are a big part of that. There's a lot of technology upgrades that need to be made across the country, especially in rural areas, dealing with school reopenings and testing and everything else. There's going to be tremendous opportunity in the IT modernization and cybersecurity space over the next 9 to 12 months. And it's really exciting to see what the administration and Congress are going to do.
Thanks so much, Matthew.
Thank you, Marjorie.